Welcome to the Live Full, Work Fun podcast. This is the show to encourage you to live your life to the fullest and do fun work that fuels your lifestyle. Hi, I'm your host, Gayla Scrivener. Every week, you'll be introduced to amazing guests, useful resources, and inspirational stories. You'll discover opportunities and perspectives to shape your version of living full and working fun. Hi there, and welcome to the show. If this is your first time here, I am glad you're joining for the very first time. And thanks for checking out this show. If you're returning, well, welcome back. It's always so great to have you here. Are you a part of the Live Full, Work Fun community yet? Well, if not, be sure to hop over to Facebook and join the Live Full, Work Fun group. Alrighty, let's get right to the show. Because today, I asked Paul Klein back. Last February, Paul was on the show and we talked about pricing practices. He gave some great recommendations on value-based pricing and working up proposals. Oh my goodness, since I discovered Paul, I have referred to his resources quite frequently. I subscribed to his Pricing is Positioning podcast, and in about April, he placed his show on hold for a while. Well, I still kept that show in my library of subscriptions because I sometimes refer to older episodes, as reference. My library is sorted by the most recently updated, and they show up, the most recently updated show up at the top. So if someone hasn't published in a while and they are in my library, of course, their show gets pushed down to the bottom. Well, it was around either the end of November or the 1st of December when I was poking around on my podcast app and on my phone one morning, and then I noticed that Paul's show had a facelift. No longer was his show called Pricing is Positioning. My curiosity was piqued. It was now BizableTV. Of course, I was so curious in what was up with Paul and what the heck BizableTV was all about. I had to listen. So as I listened to his episode 97, I can't tell you how excited I was about his new project. What I learned was he was launching a brand new streaming channel, sharing stories of freedom-seeking individuals like you and me. The show is geared, as the name implies, toward business. The guests featured are those who have built their own 6- and 7-figure one-person businesses. Now, after listening to his show, I immediately had to actually see what BizableTV was all about. So I hopped over to BizableTV.com, clicked on the catalog link, and watched the intro video. Then I signed up for free access to see what the sample stories were all about. I was hooked. I don't even consider myself much of a TV person, but I was genuinely hooked. I was itching to ask Paul a whole slew of questions to learn more about what sparked such a cool idea. Now, even though the busy holiday season was fast approaching, I took the chance and reached out to Paul to see if he was available for a conversation. And to my delight, he was thrilled to come back to the show. Paul Klein is a business consultant and entrepreneur. And today, you'll learn more about what BizableTV is all about, as well as some of Paul's journey of how he kept getting green lights to go after an idea that had been brewing in his mind for quite some time. Now, be sure to stick around to the very end. He surprised me during our conversation with a special coupon code to share with you at the end just for you who would like to take part in subscribing to BizableTV. This coupon code is only good for the month of January 2022. So if you're listening when this episode comes out, you have time to take advantage of the coupon code. If you're listening later, BizableTV subscription is still worth it. I've watched watched what episodes have come out so far and am impressed, as well as motivated and inspired to keep on going in living full and working fun. Well, all right, enough about that. Let's pop right into the conversation I had with Paul. Well, hey, Paul, welcome back to the show.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm so honored to be here again. I guess I didn't do too terrible of a job if I'm back, right?
Oh, heaven's sakes, no. You were on the show early in 2021, and I looked it up, and it was in February, and it was episode 145. And I was so delighted to have my audience to get to know you. And over the course of the year, I have mentioned you several times, actually, and have referred folks to your website and to your resources. And then a few weeks ago, I noticed something different in my podcast library. Something popped up, and you have made some changes, and I had to get you back on the show and ask you about those. Can you give us an update as what happened in a year?
Yeah, a massive pivot. So yeah, previously I had a podcast called the Pricing is Positioning Podcast, and I'm a consultant and love the freelance world. And I love your audience because we're all freedom seeking professionals, and we either have careers and we're looking to do our own thing, whether it be COVID or season of life or whatever it is. And so I've always thrived in that area. So I totally identify with a lot of your listeners in your show because they're kindred spirits. And so, yeah, in 2018, I had started kind of just, doing business coaching and everything, but there had been an idea I've had for a long time. And then something it all kind of fell together like really quickly in October. And so, the old saying that if you, sometimes the best ideas aren't acted on, and if you don't act and everything. And so I had this idea brewing, which I'll tell you about in a second. And then I just kept getting green light. So if you ever had those ideas that come along every now and then for a business or an opportunity, and you pause or you take the safe route sometimes, I would encourage you to, it's like playing basketball. If an opening, or football, if an opening or a lane opens up, take it, because you may not ever get it again. And so what happened is, a long time ago, I had this really great idea that I love those shows like The Profit and the Undercover Billionaire. There used to be Blue Collar Millionaire. I love all those business shows. Shark Tank. I love all those. Those are all great shows. But most of the time, the people in those shows are either multi-million or billionaires, like Grant Cardone or Elon Musk or so forth, or even the people on Shark Tank typically are widgets or, brick and mortar style type of entrepreneurs or businesses. But there's really not anybody profiled in this whole digital world that we're all in. People like you and our friend Mike Kim, I know you know him, and that are all developing personal brands that are being paid for their expertise, their knowledge, whether they be freelancers and consultants. So I'm like, man, and I sit down and kick my feet up. I'm like, why isn't there a show that profiles these types of people? And I'd love to tune in rather than watch, Who Got Kicked Off the Island or 90 Day Fiance or whatever, whatever my wife watches that I tune out. And so a friend of mine got connected with here in Franklin, Tennessee, just a brilliant filmmaker. And he was trained by Hans Zimmer, who did all of the Gladiator soundtrack, Avengers soundtrack, pretty much all that movie theater style soundtrack. He was professionally trained in LA, and he's from Vancouver, and he's just a really stellar talent. So him and I were talking one day, we've been doing some work. I got to know him in the last year. I met him about the time that I came on your show back in February, and we were working on something in October. And I asked him, I go, what do you want to do? I just being a mentor, he's 35, a little younger than me. I said, what do you, if money was no object, what would you want to do? He said, man, I'd love to make documentaries. And I go, wow, that's neat. I go, I love documentaries. I've always wanted to do a documentary on, and he's like, well, why don't we do it? And so I said, why don't we? And so we came up with this idea. Let's profile people like you and Mike Kim and Dan Miller. So some of your audience may know some of these people, but basically real entrepreneurs starting their real own personal businesses. And we wanted to make it a streaming network because the world is going streaming now, not, DirecTV or Xfinity. It's really all about, there's all these channels, Disney Plus, I'm sure you see all those different subscriptions. So this is a Netflix style streaming service for entrepreneurs like us, like your listeners, and where we profile real people and so forth. Kendall's work is just turning out beautiful. We've already interviewed about 6 people. We're launching in January. It's called BizableTV. And it'll be a monthly subscription fee where you get exclusive content and beautifully cinematic crafted documentaries on real people like us. And so I'm super excited about it. So jumped in with all 4 feet, and that's where my focus is right now.
That is amazing. So it's a streaming service. Why streaming service when so many people may go the YouTube route?
Yeah, and you can certainly find a lot of that type of content, and most of the time with YouTube, as you know, you've got to search for what you're looking for, and so the whole movement of streaming service is, or what we call over the top video, OTT video, and that is it's content that is specific to what you want, when you want it, where you want it. It's not like when you and I grew up, when there was 3 channels, CBS, NBC, and you watched Disney Magic Kingdom on Sunday nights in black and white. There's a million channels out there, and so people want the content that they want. If you're into yoga or baking, there's a streaming service for magicians, just for magicians. They pay a nominal fee, and they show you magic tricks every week. A new magic trick comes out. So if you're into magic, that's really what it is. Now, certainly you could go searching all over and putting up with Facebook ads, but the monetization side for the creator is very what's the word? You've got to get, I don't know. Last I heard it was in the 50 or 100,000, or maybe it's 1 million subscribers now on your YouTube channel before you see really any kind of monetization on the OTT platform, which was what we're focused on. Is, instead of trying to get 1 million subscribers or 50,000 or something like that, we only need, several hundred or even 1,000 of the right people, the right type of audience for it to be viable and to fund more documentaries and so forth. So it's more about the right content for the right people, and not needing millions of people to support it. It's much more focused and curated for what you're looking for without having to go search through all over the internet for it.
So you have your smart TV, your Roku, and you can find BizableTV, and you can subscribe to that for all the content.
Yeah. It's just like Disney Plus or what's the one, the Magnolia Network with Chip and Joanne. My wife had to have that. So I don't know. I pay $7 on, whatever a month, and, you get all those home improvement shows. So same idea, but for entrepreneurs. And yeah, we're on Roku. If you have a Roku, just go to the app section and search for BizableTV. It's BIZABLE TV, Bizable, or Visibility is kind of what we played on there. And then we're on Amazon Fire TV. So if you have an Amazon Fire Stick, you can get it there. And then we're also in the iOS App Store. So if you have an iPhone, iPad, you can go download that now. And then coming in January after our launch, we'll be on Android TV and on the Android App Store. And there's one other platform I'm missing, but we'll be on all 6 of the big streaming services. If you're getting ready to go on an airplane, just like Netflix, and you can't find any movies you want to watch, and you want to watch some inspiring, uplifting stories of entrepreneurs and businesses and struggles, and those stories, BizableTV's for you, and you can download that. Kind of like a podcast, but with a very cinematic video component to it. Very, very well, high quality produced.
I can say, yeah, I have watched your story because yours is there, and I've heard your story before, but the way that it is produced, I mean, that is really high quality and very well made.
Oh, thank you.
It's really
that's
cool.
Definitely all Kendall. And, that's the thing, is partnering with the right people. I've had this idea for years, but I didn't have that ability creatively. I mean, I could hire a video person or a studio that just maximizes cost, but Kendall's an entrepreneur like me, and we very much align in the same way. And so his creative talents complements my business talents. And so we put that together in my network, and it's just, it's starting to create magic. And so we're super excited about it. And those are kind words. I really appreciate that. It means a lot coming from you.
I love the concept because we can put ourselves right in the same shoes, the same struggles. It's more down to earth instead of, well, first of all, I don't make a widget, and I do like watching Shark Tank, but it's different relatable,
Right.
And yes, it is entertaining, but I was so drawn to the sneak peeks that I have right now before it's actually launched. And it is so relatable because you have challenges. You went ahead through the fear and the whole my gosh moments. You went through with things, and hearing those types of stories, how you can have the challenges, get through the challenges, and you keep going. Or you didn't know what you were doing all at first. You didn't have it all planned out. Hearing that type of thing and how you're doing it and how you pivot, it's like life, because we have different wants and needs at different stages of our lives, and we don't have it all figured out. And it is so comforting to know that if we're trying to stick our necks out to do something new to us, to hear the stories of people just like us,
right,
is so wonderful. I'm super excited about it being launched.
Yeah,
let me tell you.
You picked up on a great piece there, and that is that we do walk every what we did when we decided to do these. I said, Kendall, I know all these entrepreneurs. I know tons of people that would make for great stories, that have great backstories and so forth. And I said, but we need to come up with a repeatable process. And he came up with this 5-part framework. And so that's why we do 5 15 to 20 minute episodes on each person. It's kind of their origin story, or the beginning at the very end. And then by the time we get to the 5th episode, it's that uplifting, promising, hopeful message of hope for other people that might be a little farther behind and so forth. And one of the people I'm just super excited, we just had Shannon Mattern, and she's from a podcast called Pep Talks for Side Hustlers. She's just a super person, and she's like Pat Flynn and some of those that put her monthly income report. So every month you can tune in and get a monthly income. Well, she does about $35,000 a month in revenue. She teaches web design. She's self-made. She doesn't have a degree. She doesn't have a certificate that says that you do this, but she coaches hundreds, mostly women that are struggling in their corporate jobs, and teaching them how to go out on their own. She told a story about the first time that she was in her corporate job, and she told someone, I do web design. And she said, I felt like I lied. I felt like a fraud because I wasn't corporate. I did it in my corporate job, and I had made a lot of money for my company, but I felt like I was telling someone as a fraud because now I was pivoting into being a consultant. And then it took her time, and it was just really interesting to see that story, how she overcame that. Like many women do struggle with, and men too. None of us feel like we know everything, but we figure it out as we go. And now she's just doing some exciting things. And so we have women, men, a lot of different backgrounds that I think a lot of people can relate with and learn from their story and get inspired.
How smart you are on knowing right from the get-go that you have to have a framework. Because if you study any TV show, it's always a framework. You look at game shows, there's always this structure, and it's, well, in all of the TV shows that we watch, there's a structure to it. And whether the viewer is aware of it or not, there's something that's comforting. You just know what to expect, and there's a rhythm, there's a cadence. And how smart of you. And on the producing side of it, you have a framework that you need to do this first, this second, and it makes everything a lot easier. How smart that you, before you even launch, your experience told you got to have the framework.
Yeah. And a lot of that's Kendall, my co-founder and the director for BizableTV, and he's done Netflix shows, he's done movies, he's producing a big documentary right now called "I Am a Victor," and it's about the Black community that chooses to look at themselves as victors, not victims. It's for a Christian, African-American Christian that's out of Minneapolis. And I think it's out on, by the time this episode comes out, I think it'll be released, but it's called "I'm a Victor." And it's just a wonderful story of the, the positive impact, because a lot of the Black community has had, and I know there's been a lot of negative press, especially with the police stuff and all the different politics going on, but, and the struggles that community has, but it's really profiling the doctors, the lawyers, the successful African-American community that has embraced faith and a lot of different principles that really, and it's about that mindset, choosing to be a victor, not a victim. So I'm super excited. I helped him with that a little bit. But he's definitely he's got a lot of experience in that space and brings a lot to the table.
It sounds like you guys complement each other very well to make a really quality platform, a quality product that has some longevity to it. So that is awesome.
We're excited. The market will tell. So as with any idea, we're pouring a lot into it, and we're launching in January, and we'll see. The market is the ultimate decider, and if we provide high value at a good rate, and people find value out of it, then it will sustain and be successful. If not, then we'll go do something else.
So I know this of you that you have or had ownership in a SaaS company, and you're consulting and speaking type of career with Visible TV, and you've made a pivot. Does that mean these other things went away, or is this just something that you're focusing? It's another line of revenue for you, and you're pouring your focus in it right now to get it launched.
Yeah, I have multiple things going on. So I don't like to cut off. I learned this from my mentor, Dan Miller. He's just great about these types of things is, you don't want to cut, kill the goose that, whatever the saying, kill the goose that laid the golden egg. So I still have my consulting. I'm doing my consulting business. I have systems and processes in place to keep that going. My SaaS company that I mentioned on the last podcast is a tech company out of Sacramento, California, and we have a full team that runs the day-to-day operations. So I'm not involved in that on a day-to-day, but I get some income from that. And then my pricing is positioning and kind of business coaching and speaking that I was doing. Like, I'm not marketing my online course for pricing. I'm not doing a lot of. I kind of cut off my coaching for that, and just so I could focus on Visible. It doesn't mean I won't do that again in the future, but that's the wonderful thing about digital products and digital entrepreneurship is you can pivot for a season. I think, and to a lot of your listeners out there, a lot of people think, well, if I change this or do something different, it's going to confuse everybody. Everybody's too busy and nobody cares.
I love that you say that.
Yeah, focus on the service or the product you're trying to do, and you can have multiple verticals. So I'm very well known in the consulting world in a very niche vertical related to the Americans with Disabilities Act, very much architecture and kind of engineering. And if you look at my LinkedIn profile, it is totally tailored for that. But if you come over to BizableTV.com or paulklein.net, which is more my personal brand and kind of my entrepreneurial aspirations, it looks very much more familiar with what your audience is probably used to. And then my SaaS company has me on kind of like buried in the about page, but the focal point of that is large organizations and government entities, and so it markets that, and so people know me in there. But it doesn't mean you can't have multiple businesses or services across many different verticals. And one of the great advice that I would give your audience, I'm sure you spoke of this before, you can take something that you've done in one vertical that's very common. And so in this space, Facebook ads, podcasting, lead magnets, and email marketing, you could take that over to like a manufacturing company and it would be golden, groundbreaking, never seen it before to them, or to dentists or something, and so very much, don't get caught up in that. Well, if I change my LinkedIn profile for a few months to target, this particular thing I'm working on, it's going to mean that I'm that forever. No, it's just a temporary pivot, and it's not your identity as a person or as your professional career. So give yourself a little grace there.
Well, I love when I left corporate world and then came into the life that I'm living today, and realizing, I'm glad that you said it's like on certain lines of business, there was already the foundation. You don't have to have involvement and you have a revenue stream. There are certain lines of business that you can turn on and off or down or up and down the faucet, so to speak, of what you want to ramp up or just kind of slow down. It makes room for new stuff and additional stuff. And what I see and hear in your voice is how much fun you're having. I mean, you're so excited about this new venture. And I can just, when I was listening to your podcast, and when I'm seeing you now and just listening to your voice and seeing you, you're having fun with this. And even the last time that we spoke, you love what you do and figuring out and building the lifestyle that you want and acting on some of these ideas that interest you,
Yeah.
and try it. And like you said, the market will tell if it'll work or not, but
Yeah.
it won't ever work without the excitement to start
Yeah.
with, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Get excited, go after it, and don't beat yourself up if it fails. Don't mortgage the house to make something happen, but hopefully I'm able to sustain the basic lifestyle through my consulting so that I can try these other things and see what works and so forth. But even in that consulting space, I had learned so much from this digital marketing kind of podcasting space. I was telling my business partner, this was right after COVID hit. And I said, we need to do a community. Everybody's doing paid communities over here in this kind of internet world. And I said, we need to do this in our consulting space, in the engineering architecture space, which is very unusual. And so we offered up a free webinar for 4 weeks right after COVID, just kind of help the industry out. And then he said, okay, we're going to convert to a paid community. I thought, this can be great. We're going to get, 1,500 people paying $40 a month. And then I won't have to take on as much client work. It'll kind of even out. Well, we got about 40 or 50 that actually started paying. And so it was great. It was about $4 or $5 grand a month, if I remember right. And we did it for about 3 months. And then my business partner said it. And I said, you know what, it's not for the amount of time that the both of us were putting in, for the amount of that we're getting in return, it wasn't something that we wanted to sustain for long term. So we did it for 4 or 5 months, offered a few months for free, and then we just shut it down, and then we just made it free. And we don't go in there we were doing weekly webinars and trainings and things like that. But it was a very great learning experience. So rather than beating myself up, saying, oh, we failed, we only got 5,000 and then we had to shut it down, and just looking at all the negativity, I go, man, I learned a lot through that process, and which helps me with this new thing that I'm doing. And I'll be able to reflect back on that in the future for other things that I'm doing. So get in the game, man, and just try it out and go for it and have fun. That's what I like to do.
I love it. With BizableTV, I've been on the site looking at the sneak peeks, and then I see what's coming in the future of what will be released when it actually goes live. You had mentioned that you know a lot of people in your networking. So there's folks to get you started with their stories. How do you determine who will be on the show?
The biggest problem is I know more people that would make awesome guests than spots. So right now we're only doing.
What a great problem.
It's a good problem to have in terms of being a producer and running a business, because there's more supply than demand, or more demand than supply, I should say. But we're really looking for, diverse people. We're open. So if you have a guest, you qualify in many ways and have a great story, would make a great guest. And actually, one of the things we're going to do with our strategic partners on the launch, and if this is something that your community might want to help your show out with, is I can give a code, and whoever gets the most signups will get a automatic come to the front documentary produced for them. So
how cool.
So we'll be, basically we have a lot of people I think would make good guests, and you're one of those. And we are looking for women entrepreneurs. So I have lots of men, a lot of men, and so it's good to be, have women that have, because there's such a need for that as well. And me being a guy, it's just kind of like, it's nice having that perspective in the mix. But yeah, I'd love all your listeners to use your show's code and help you get on. So that would be awesome. So we'll probably,
cool.
Yeah, we'll probably work I'm compiling a list, and then once we do the launch in January, and then what we'll do is probably like a April. Kind of like whoever got the most signups to sign up kind of thing. So we'll talk about that and maybe offline or something. But
how cool.
And then if anybody has a guest, including yourself, you can email it to hello@bizable.com, hello@bizable.com. So if there's a great story out there, or a personality that has an inspiring story in the entrepreneur world, the only caveat that we have is you do need to be full-time in your, nothing against anybody who's working full time in a W-2 job and then doing this on the side, but we're looking for those that have, are in it full time.
Broke away.
Yeah. Broke away. Exactly.
Mm-hmm. That is so exciting. How often do new shows come out?
Yeah. So what we're doing right now, we've been working really hard to produce 10 in the library. So when we launch, there will be 10. If everything goes right, we're on schedule for that. We have, I forget what we have, it was 7 in the can, and we're just editing everything together. So when we launch in January 26th or 27th will be the launch date. We'll have 10 in the can. And then what we'll do is we will have a new personality starting February, and that's going to be Dan Miller is going to be like our first like leak out. So his episode 1 will come out on launch, and then through February, his episodes will come out every Thursday. So you'll be able to tune in to BizableTV every Thursday and get new content, new inspiring content. And then what'll happen is the next month, March will come and it'll be a new personality. And then, April will be somebody new. And then in each month, their episodes will be leaked out, every Thursday. And then as we go through the calendar year, the library continues to grow with those episodes.
I love that. Awesome. What was the biggest challenge that you had in launching BizableTV?
Well, it's not launched yet, so I can't.
In the process of launching,
we're in the middle. So October, the idea was officially like, okay, we're going to do this. And I reached out to some initial people, and like I told you, like anytime you have an idea or your listeners have an idea about a business or anything like that, start talking to people and say, what do you think? What do you think? So I called 3 or 4. I called Dan Miller. I called Jody Mayberry, called Nick Plavitas, Mike Kim. I just called some of my key contacts that I'm in regular contact with, and just bounced it off them. And everybody's like, I'm in. When do you want me to fly to Nashville to film me? And they were like, it's a great idea. And so then the next piece was like, well, how do I do the platform? And then I found I just started doing research, what does it take to stream? And so everything was just green lighting. It's like, wow, this is a lot easier. This doesn't take as much capital. I was thinking, it's $100,000, all this, is going to be super expensive. But these days there's a tool, there's a company, there's something out there to make your idea happen in this digital space. And sometimes you just have to do a little research. But again, I kept hitting those green lights. And so now the biggest challenge for me is not to be overly optimistic or overshoot the expectations. Obviously, the great thing about any subscription service is that, man, if you can get, think about it. If I have an average cost like Netflix of $10 a spot, if you had, 100,000 subscribers, that would be 2 million. No, my math is off. 100,000. Be a lot of money a month. I know that is what I'm getting at. So, but, and the reality is it's going to take some time to get up to those kinds of numbers, if at all. But, 500, 1,000 people at launch, and maybe within a year up to 5 or 10,000, it's still a very viable, even at 10,000 at $10 a month is, that's a $1.2 million a year business. And so that's the kind of, so I get overly optimistic, and it's not just about the money, but you in any business, the revenue is what dictates how much you can do or limits you on how much you can do. And so, I'd love to buy all kinds of Facebook ads right now, or buy an ad in magazines or Entrepreneur, but we just can't afford all that. So we have to bootstrap and build up as we go. And so that's that. But that is the biggest challenge with any business when you have a great idea. And whenever I started businesses, all of my businesses, I've never borrowed money. I haven't done that traditional go out, get a business loan, do a business plan, get investors. I like to bootstrap. And that's way when you make mistakes or have failures, they're not as catastrophic, Right. And I think that's, that's just my philosophy, and nothing against people who do that, or if that works for you or you're an expert in that space by any means. I'm not knocking it at all. Just for me and the way I'm wired, I can't, I don't, and the other thing is I don't like to answer to a panel of people that don't understand the vision that are telling me what to do. And as soon as they put their money in, now they get a say. So it's like, I'll just figure this out on my own. And so, I could have probably got investors and hired developers and made this into a $500,000 app, but there's a service that's very reasonable out there that you can get and make it happen. So you just got to be creative. And that's the the fun journey of being an entrepreneur is figuring out those problems and overcoming them and then hopefully hitting a home run. So we'll see.
I love that you had said, a challenge is we can be over optimistic about the projections, and then being realistic about, obviously, if you get that big number and you're working hard, when to produce the shows, as the channel grows, that's going to give you opportunities. It's going to evolve. And probably, I say, 5 years from now, it's going to look different than it will at launch, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I
And
have
that's
a great vision for you, Paul. I love it.
Yeah, you're cut from the same cloth, so you get it, and I so appreciate you having on the show to talk about it, and that's what Kendall and I have talked about. There's so many ways we can go. We can do live streams. We could produce weekly or live shows like regular networks. But it all comes back to your core vision or principles of why you're doing something. It's Simon Sinek. What is the why? And that's what Kendall and I talk about. If we're successful financially, that gives us the avenue to do other things. What would we do? And what we want to do is do full-length documentaries. We'd love to do a documentary on the Great Resignation, and we'd like to find people who left their jobs during COVID and then recapture them in a couple of years and tell that story, those kinds of things. And so our vision and the reason why we do this is to provide inspiring, uplifting content to help other entrepreneurs keep going in their fight and not give up when they hit a wall. And that's really our core of what we're doing. And we feel like if we do it well and we provide good content that helps other entrepreneurs do that, then they'll stay subscribed. They'll want more content. As we get more people, then we can do more content, and we'll survey the audience. If they say, yeah, these are great, but we'd like to have this or that, and we'll pivot as we go and continue to be that inspirational streaming network that's not out there for entrepreneurs.
I love it. Well, I know you mentioned it briefly toward the beginning of the show, but how do people learn more and subscribe to BizableTV?
Yeah, right now you can get free insiders access. So advanced viewing. There's actually 2 films up right now. We have Jeff Brown, who's from the Read to Lead podcast and Read to Lead book. Just a great guy, works with John Lee Dumas and a lot of different influencers. His episode 1 is up. And also my good friend, Ken Davis, who is a Christian comedian and training keynote speaker we do speaker training together in a conference called SCORE. His first film is up. And then I think I have my 5 episodes. Mine are just all like little short 2 minutes, just for an example. But these first 2 films are longer. They're like 20 minutes each or something. So go to BizableTV.com and just click on Start Watching, and you can get a free insider account, and then you'll get advanced notice of offer. There'll be a launch promo and bonuses that you can get that will so if you like what you see and you want to be part of that and stay subscribed, and you can pay for a whole year and get like a major discount, like almost 50%. So we'd love people to sign up and support it. And then when you're kicking back on your lazy boy in front of the big screen TV and you fire up Roku and you want to watch some inspiring television, you can tune in and see what we're doing and
so
enjoy.
If we're signed up prior to launch, we'll get the notifications when we can get the paid content. But if we sign up and we're free, is there a period of time? I see some channels, they have some free, and then they have like the thumbnails, and it's like, here, you need to subscribe to actually see it. Is that similar of how yours works?
Yeah, very similar. There will be a trailer on all episodes that you'll get for free. But after January, this insider access will go away. And the only way you'll be able to see any of the films is if you're a current subscriber. There will be some like 1 or 2 minute kind of teasers that you'll have. But we're really rewarding those that are early adopters that sign on now. And you'll get a lot of extras that you won't be able to get after the launch.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. I saw the change in my podcast library, and I was like, what? And I've got to listen. And as soon as I listened, I got onto BizableTV, got my account, and then I emailed you and said, I got to have you back on the show because I am curious. I got to ask all these questions.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for being here again today.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm so honored to be on the show, and I really appreciate you and your support. So thank you so much.
Well, thanks for being here today. I want to encourage you to go over to BizableTV.com and check it out. Poke around a little bit. Go into the catalog section. And if you're not sure if you want to subscribe or not, go ahead and sign up for the free account to view some of the free shows and previews. What's so cool and what I'm looking forward to is seeing the shows of the folks who have been guests on my show at one time or another. Folks like Mike Kim and Lauren Davis. There are also folks featured in season 1 who I have already reached out to, and I'm working on having them be on the show. Oh, it's super cool. It's super cool that they are featured on Bizable TV, and I'm looking forward to their shows. So, if you decide to subscribe to Bizable TV, please do use my coupon code of GS22. It stands for Gayla Scrivener, so GS22. You'll get an extra discount off the introductory subscription price. And the best deal is to pick the annual subscription, because if you do, and you use my coupon code of GS22, then you'll be locked into the price for as long as you keep the subscription. To subscribe, just pick one of those locked videos and click on that unlock button or watch now. The first step is to choose either a monthly or annual plan. Then you confirm your account. Then you come to the payment screen and enter your card info. But before hitting pay, just under the video, you'll see a place to add the coupon code. So using GS22, you'll get 40% off a monthly or yearly subscription to Bizable TV forever. That's pretty cool. Get in early to lock in this special launch-only rate. And this offer ends, let me remind you, this offer ends January 31st, 2022. Now, I signed up on my laptop, and the instructions there and what the screens look like that I just stated was on my laptop view and what appeared in my web browser. Things may look different if you sign up on your Roku or Apple TV or any other streaming app, but look for that coupon code before you hit the pay button. Now, I hope you enjoyed the episode, and I'd love for you to do me a little favor. Please share this episode with at least one person you know who you think might find it helpful and enjoyable. Text the link to them. Just share the link. That would be super cool. Let's continue this conversation. Why don't you hop over to Facebook and post what your biggest takeaway from today's show is in the Live Full, Work Fun Facebook group. I hope to see you there. Well, thanks again for listening. Until next time, have a fantastic week. Live full and work fun.